the first great American conductor.
There's a price for being in my brother's orbit, you know that.
And it's Friday, time now to talk movies. That was a clip from the film Maestro, the new film written, directed, produced and starring Bradley Cooper. Joining me now to discuss this more and other movies, I have with me Richard Crouse, film critic. Hi Richard, good to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with Maestro. Bradley Cooper is back, both directing and acting. How much would you rate the film?
Well, this gets a high rating from me. You'll see it in theaters this weekend. It moves to Netflix in a couple of weeks. And it's the story of Leonard Bernstein. He was the first American to conduct an international orchestra, wrote the music for West Side Story, one of the most talented musicians of the 20th century. This is kind of his professional story. We get all the highlights, we hit all the highlights, but mostly it's about his personal life and his marriage to Felicia, played by the brilliant Carey Mulligan in this film. And the story begins with a gig at Carnegie Hall. There's no notice. He only gets an hour's notice before he is to step in front of that audience and that orchestra. No rehearsal. And it turns him into a star overnight. He meets Felicia. They marry quickly. They have 3 children. All the while, he continues to have affairs with men. And she's okay with it until she isn't. And that's kind of, I won't tell you anything more that happens, but that's kind of the push and pull of the story. It's all about the performances here. Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan are both doing career best work here. And there's a 6-minute scene here where Bradley Cooper spent 6 years learning how to conduct an orchestra to conduct this beautiful piece by Mahler, set in 1976 in London, in a cathedral in London. And just watching this segment teaches us everything we need to know about the character. It's a show me, don't tell me moment, and it's really, really good stuff. And it's part of the reason I gave the movie 4 out of 5 stars.
Oh, wow. 4 out of 5. That sounds good. Next up, let's talk about May, December. It's 1st of December, but May, December. Another movie with a strong cast here. So what do you have to say about this one?
Yeah, it's the season for Oscar bait kind of movies, and this is one of them. Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman star in this film that is sort of kind of based on true events. So it is a takeoff on the Mary Kay Letourneau story. If you remember that name, you'll remember that she was a woman who had an affair with a man or boy in grade 6. They had babies. She went to jail, and they ended up staying together once she got out of jail. That's kind of the framework for this movie, except the twist here is that Natalie Portman plays an actress who's making a story about this couple's life story, and she comes to do some research. And the more questions she starts to ask, the more self-reflection they have about their lives and all the events of their lives. And this is a really interesting psychodrama, melodrama that has really compelling performances from Julianne Moore and from Natalie Portman. When they're on screen together, this movie sizzles. So I gave it, again, 4 out of 5 stars, and it's on Netflix right now.
Oh, wow. So 2 good films to choose from. There is, of course, The Maestro and May, December. Next up, let's discuss Saltburn. What do we know about this one?
Saltburn is, again, a thriller, a psychodrama about a guy who is at Oxford, but he's a scholarship student at Oxford, looked down on by all the other rich guys, except for one guy named Felix, who takes pity on him and says, why don't you come to my family's estate? It's called Saltburn. You'll spend the summer there, and it'll be your entree into high society. And once the character gets there, he decides that he really likes it there and will do anything to stay. So this is kind of a look at a talented Mr. Ripley kind of story. There's intrigue. There's all sorts of strange goings on behind the scenes at this estate, Saltburn. The performances are great. At the end, though, I found while I was entertained, it didn't really add up to a lot for me. Although Rosamund Pike, who we're seeing on screen here, hands in a tremendous performance as the casually cruel mother in this scene. So I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and it's in theaters right now.
Okay, and lastly, it is Christmas season after all, so let's discuss a movie called Silent Night.
Yeah, this movie doesn't have much to do with Christmas other than being set around Christmas time.
Okay.
It is directed by John Woo, the Hong Kong action icon, who hasn't made an American film in 20 years. He does some interesting things here. There's no dialogue in this, but what I wanted was some real John Woo style action, and I didn't get it. It felt generic to me. I wanted more from this movie. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars because John Woo, when you hear that name, you have a high level of expectation, and for me, it didn't deliver on this one.
All right, Richard, thank you for that roundup. Appreciate all the updates there.
Thank you for having me.